Hi friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life. I hope you're having a great day. And I know it's cold out there. If you're in New Hampshire, it's chilly. But you know what? It's going to get colder. Something to look forward to. But you know what? We're going to have some warm days too. So let's be optimistic and just take the good with the bad. And when it is chilly out there, put the layers on because that's how we survive. And I won't put on a heavy jacket yet because I don't want to. So today I'm layered, a long sleeve t-shirt, flannel shirt, and a fleece vest. And sometimes I'll do a sweater in the house. And so far I've been able to keep the temperature down to a reasonable between 66 and 68 in the house. And then when I bake, the furnace doesn't go on. But that's not the reason I wanted to bake. The reason I wanted to bake today was I haven't baked in a while, number one. Number two, I still have some apples left. And Saturday and Sunday, I was canning applesauce. I didn't want to can applesauce this year. I had my apples downstairs, and I thought that they would be okay. They're going softer faster than I anticipated. So I think I have to go back and get a different type of apple that doesn't soften so fast. I need a harder apple. We enjoy apple pies using Macintosh. And I like Macintosh for applesauce. It's just one of my favorite apples to do that with, and I use a Granny Smith for everyday enjoyment. So I might have to go back to the farm and see what I can get that can last a little bit longer in our cellar, which is not really cold storage because we do have it heated a little bit down there. So what I may end up doing is changing things a little bit so we can get in the area that's really cold. So we'll see. I don't know how cold we want to get it because if the floors are cold, that means the furnace might go on more frequently, and there's a balance in trying to make sure our budgets are met. What I wanted to share with you though is I wanted to make an apple spice cake. Well, one of the ways I make it, and I make it in a variety of ways, but I wanted to make it free of allergies, so allergy-free type recipe. And that means gluten-free flours, no eggs, none of the allergies that we are used to having, no milks, no butters, none of that. And the reason I started doing that was because of the allergies that myself and two of my daughters have. So, as you go along, you just kind of figure things out. And there are some things I can now have, but it's a process and trying to figure out what. And even the eggs that our chickens are producing, I'll still be able to have those. But having eggs from the store, I wasn't. And the difference is, or at least I believe, I feed my chickens and many farm fresh animals as well. They feed them nutritious food. My chickens get a breakfast of oatmeal. They might get scrambled eggs. In the oatmeal, there'll be garlic. There'll be herbs. There'll be, like I freeze dry, or not freeze dry, I don't have a freeze dryer. I dehydrate kale and spinach, and I throw in seeds, a variety of things. By the time I'm done, it smells really good. But I feed that to them, and I know that they're getting plenty of protein because I kind of measure it out. They get flaxseed. They get a lot of nutrients, so that I know that their eggs are healthy. And the first egg we got, it did break, so I had to bake with it. I made a meatloaf with it. Had no problems with that meatloaf. Yay. And so I will be sharing, even though we have the eggs coming in, I want to share some substitutes for those of you who are struggling with the price of eggs on the shelf. There are different options that are affordable. And one of them being that you can use flaxseed as an egg substitute. And I want to share with you how to do that in a future video. So first, what I want to do to make this apple spice cake, and I'm going to do this in segments, I need to make a baking mix. Now you can certainly buy a gluten-free baking mix off the shelf. There's brands out there that you can go and do that, so you don't have to spend this kind of time. Honestly though, it's only going to take a few minutes. But you might not have these different flours, so you may want to choose that option. But I like to have a gluten-free baking mix ready for me, so when I want to bake something, all I have to do is take a scoop out of that, to blend in with my food. So the first thing, and this is really, really simple, folks. Okay, so the first ingredient, let me get my recipe here, is 3.5 cups of garbanzo flour. And here we go. And since my 1 cup measure doesn't go in here very well, let's see if this is a 1 cup measure. Half a cup, excuse me. So I'm going to put 5 half cups in here. 1, 2, and it's not really, I'm not balancing it off here. I'm not. 3, 4, 5, 6 is the 3 cups, and I wanted 3.5 cups. So there we go. And I keep a lot of my flours, once I open them, I keep them in a jar, whether it's this size, a half-gallon size. I keep them there so that, and with, you know, to keep the bugs out and stuff like that. The next thing that I need is 2.25 cups of potato starch. So 2 cups would be 4 half cups, okay? This is the potato starch. Got to take the oxygen absorber out. 1, 2, 3, 4.25 cups. So that's the potato starch. And then the last is 1.5 cups of tapioca flour. 1.5 cups. So it'll be 3 half cups in here. And it fills this container up perfectly that I have. And all you want to do is stir them up a little bit. And every time you use this, you want to stir it up. So you might use, you know, a half a cup or a cup of your baking mixture. Now, could I have made this in a bowl and poured it in? Yeah, probably would have been better. But this is what I've got in here. You just kind of stir it up. Bring up what's underneath. I'm going to get one with a spoon on the bottom. And there is no salt in this. And I do put salt in stuff, but not to the extent that other people do. So I will give you salt recommendations, but that doesn't mean that every recipe I make will have it. But this does not call for salt at all. And part of the reason I do not recommend putting salt in a baking mix is because the recipe itself may ask for salt as well. So you don't want to do double duty on the salt intake. So you want to be conservative if you are one that really likes salt in your food. So if you had put a tablespoon or a teaspoon of salt in this, you might end up with a very salty baked item. And although salt is very good in your baked goods, that doesn't mean you want too much in it. It's your choice. We just don't eat a lot of salt. Another way you can mix this up is to shake it up a bit. But again, when you go to use it, stir it up a little bit. So I'll have to clean up my counter. I made a nice dusty mess here. But that is one way to make a baking mix. If your recipe says you need a cup of baking mix, this is a gluten-free baking mix that you can add other ingredients to make whatever it is you're making. So again, this is just 3.5 cups of garbanzo bean flour. You can make garbanzo bean flour yourself. All you have to do is grind it up. And if you do it fresh, it's even better. Now these garbanzo bean flour I have here, I already had on hand. It was packaged, but I have since picked up some garbanzo beans, which I will put through my blender, which has a flour making unit on it. I haven't used it yet. I'm sure I'm going to make a mess, but I'll have that so I can make my own garbanzo bean flour. That's an option, and that's one thing that I want to share with you is if you can't afford flour but you've got oatmeal on hand, you can grind that down to make flour. If you don't, you can even use your food processor with the sharp blade. You can grind it down. It may not get fine like a flour, but you can do that in desperate times if you can't afford the flour. And I'm watching these flour prices and I'm like, this is getting nutty. But that is an option. So, and then the potato starch, the tapioca flour, I would buy those. I already have some of these. I don't have much of them on hand, so I may have to order some. I have to check the budget, the grocery budget, and see what I can do. But little by little, you can add to your pantry of basics. That's what I recommend, because one of the things that you're going to find is you're going to want to bake. Breads, make things with rice and pasta, whatever it is that keeps you going, whatever your foods are that you enjoy. And you can also make powder out of dried corn, dried peas. You just use your imagination and you can make a flour. It may not be your gluten white flour, but they are flours. Now you can watch for your sales and stuff like that, but I wouldn't recommend having too much flour on hand unless you've got freezer space that you can store it in. I don't, so I can only buy so much, but I can certainly buy the beans, and that's what I've done. I bought some garbanzo beans so that I could grind them down. So that's the basic of making this baking mix. The next video I'm going to share with you is how I make an apple spice cake that uses this baking mix. And I hope that you stay with me. I hope you've subscribed so you can see when that video is uploaded. Thanks for watching. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, please jot them down and I'll be happy to answer it. Have a great day and may God bless you.